Sex trafficking is a growing problem across the United States and right here at home, and children often become the victims of the crime.
And for the past week, we have shown you a series of stories called Selling Girls, exposing the underground multi-billion-dollar sex trafficking industry. And tonight, we're going to focus in on what's happening right here at home.
Channel 2's Michael Wooten has tonight's Two on Your Side original investigation.
Sex trafficking is the world's fastest growing crime.
This really can happen to anyone who's vulnerable.
4.5 million victims around the globe, many of them young people, sold for sex. And if you think it's a problem that happens somewhere else,
definitely not. I struggled for 10 years.
This woman from the South Towns is proof it hits close to home. She asked that we not identify her. She told us how she was raped at a young age, and her trafficker took advantage of that.
How would you describe him?
Very vicious, manipulative, invasive.
She was one of 5 girls forced by this man to work as prostitutes right here in Buffalo. His criminal enterprise stretched from here to New York City, Harrisburg, PA, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and Cleveland. His youngest victim was only 15.
Just overall an evil person.
These guys are psychopaths.
And there are more of them out there than you would want to believe.
How do you quantify the problem of human trafficking in Western New York?
The only true statistics I can give you are the numbers that we collect ourselves of survivors identified and served. And we absolutely do not believe that that's indicative of what's out there.
Here's what we know. Last year, the Western New York Human Trafficking Task Force identified 96 potential victims here locally. Almost all were trafficked for sex, and 60 of the victims were children.
The number is horrifying. I think this is still an issue that people think happens somewhere else.
Right, right. So the majority of cases involving minors involved minors that were born, groomed, and trafficked here in Western New York. So Grand Island, Amherst, West Seneca, East Aurora, and I think that people are very surprised.
Do people realize, you think, that this is happening here?
No, I don't think so.
Special Agent Peter Orchard with the Buffalo FBI leads a squad that's currently investigating more than 100 open cases involving the exploitation of children.
The pimp really doesn't care how old they are. In my opinion, they're the worst of the worst. They're just psychopathic killers, and that girl's not a girl. She's a piece of meat.
She's a possession.
She's a possession. She's a product. All right, just like he was selling drugs or anything else. She's a product.
Special Agent Orchard addressed the common belief that many prostitutes choose that life. He says often they have no choice at all.
The pimp has controlled every single aspect of their life. Takes their phone, takes their ID, takes all their money. If they don't follow the rules, he'll beat her. All right. If she tries to run away, he may kill her.
Was there ever a point where you never thought you would survive it?
There is a point where, like, I basically thought that this was just gonna be my life. This is who I am. This is what it's gonna be like for the rest of my life.
And at times, she feared the worst.
One of them had, like, a gun to me, and I honestly thought that I was going to die.
She was involved in prostitution for almost a decade. FBI stats show on average she should have been dead after 7 years. Although she didn't go before the grand jury, her trafficker was indicted on charges here at the Buffalo Federal Courthouse. He eventually pleaded guilty and got 13 years in federal prison. At the sentencing, the judge said he used violence, force, intimidation, and psychological control to force women into sexual servitude. And as bad as that sounds, Special Agent Orchard says he's seen far worse.
He's a bad guy, but that's about average that we see some of the stuff that he had done.
Do you block those old memories?
I try to. I actually take medication for night terrors, PTSD.
She survived and got help, and that's the message. Help is available.
Each day we're open, they can get a warm meal.
This is the Enrichment Center at PATH, People Against Trafficking Humans. The facility on Delaware Avenue in Buffalo offers victims a safe place to get free services, ranging from counseling to clothing and referrals for shelter and medical care. The International Institute has also worked with survivors The youngest only 9, the oldest 83.
We know survivors have kept themselves alive a very long time without us. We just want to be able to offer them some support, some referrals for medical doctors that we work with, mental health professionals, shelters. We will believe you and we will help you, no questions asked.
The survivor who spoke with us got that support last year.
March 25th, 2016.
You know the date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a day that everything in my life pretty much changed.
She's a success story, now attending community college with the goal of becoming a mental health and substance abuse counselor.
Hoping to help others using the experiences that you've had.
If I can just help one person, I feel like my destiny is fulfilled.
What would be your message?
Basically that there's a way out, you can get help, that things are better on the other side.
You're proof of that.
I definitely am. Your life can change.
Sadly, Special Agent Orchard told me that success story we just heard is extremely rare, and that is why his focus is so much on prevention. FBI agents and their partners go into schools to talk to kids and also their parents to try to prevent all of this. The task force that we talked about there also is growing, and there have been some changes in how law enforcement here locally approach this problem. That's the focus of our story tomorrow night here at 6 o'clock. But before we end here, I want to remind you about the number that you see behind me here. It is the trafficking hotline that you can call if you're a victim or if you just see something they want you to say something. It's available 24/7, and we also have that number posted on our website and app. And in tomorrow's story, guys, we're also going to talk more about those warning signs and what the public can do to fight back against this. I was stunned when I saw those numbers.
Very eye-opening for a lot of us here. How did the victim in your story, how did she escape this?
She credited her family with helping her, but also she was put in the human trafficking court in the city of Buffalo. And so she got help there, and they put her in touch with some services, and they were able over time to get her out of that situation.
Not easy.
There's so much fear, but this is a safe place for them to go. So many victims fear that police will be called immediately and that they'll be in danger, but they know what they're doing when they're helping these women and men out.
Absolutely. There are so many support services, and law enforcement are really treating this differently than they did a long time ago. They recognize that these people don't want this life. They are forced into it, and the traffickers are so good at what they do, and that's the real scary part.
All right, Michael Wooten, fascinating story, Michael. Thank you.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it.